So when it comes to growth companies, I'm sure your audience hears all the time that how important leadership is. And that is very true. I mean, leadership is most certainly important to help companies get to the next stage. And, I view myself as, I've never been a founder, just so everyone knows. I view myself as more of a serial operator, serial CEO who helps take companies from in many cases, and more recently, from their founder-led time to then that next stage of growth. And what I find a key part of that is how you develop leadership inside of an organization, but leadership that is growing, that is vibrant, that encapsulates the vision and mission, and where it's not just I would say a mental thing or an intellectual thing, like it's a feeling thing.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Today we look at leadership, specifically vitality of leadership. What is that? Well, we're going to unpack that with our special guest. He's the CEO of SourceScrub. They are multiple times been on the Inc. list. They really are companies that are trying to be a deal maker and really be a category of one inside of the matching up companies that need next level financing with companies that want to give next level financing, if that makes sense. So Jim Obsitnik and I sit down and talk about vitality of leadership and how he describes what that means inside of an organization, why it's so important, and really some of the core elements. And there will be things that you've heard of before, but I won't tip my hat here. I will let you tune in to Jim's perspective on vitality of leadership. Now, my job is to help you grow your company and really connect you with the right leadership that allows you to continue growth. We primarily work with Inc. 5,000 level companies. We do executive coaching. We do leadership development. And I say all these things not because I'm trying to create a commercial here, but I just want to know if we could help you in any way. I'd love for you to reach out and engage us in a conversation. Not that we're trying to sell you anything. I'll be really direct about this. I love helping listeners out. And in fact, we have a special kind of offer for those listening in to the podcast. And it's a tool that we've used with paying clients. It's called the Leadership Effectiveness Evaluation. And inside that, there's 7 dials. You want to see where you rank and really understand how to prioritize those as you think about leadership across your organization and really kind of codify how to improve it and where you need to focus your energies. Just go to genehammett.com and schedule your call today. Mention that you heard it on the podcast and it's absolutely free. Otherwise, it's $1,000 for that experience with me. But I want to give it to you. I really do value those people that are listening in. So we do this about 1 or 2 a month. You should be one of the ones that gets that value. So go ahead and go to genehammett.com and schedule your call. Now, here's the interview with Jim. Jim, how are you?
Good, Gene. Doing great today. How about yourself?
We're going to have a great conversation. Before we dive in, I'd love for you to tell us about SourceScrub. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. So we are a deal sourcing platform for really the deal making community. We have over 700 customers consisting of private equity firms, investment banks, corporate development teams at corporations, and we basically we help them search through. We've assembled a collection of over 15 million companies. Primarily private companies that haven't taken any institutional financing, and we help our customers find those companies and ultimately then do deals around them. And in many ways, it's hard to find them. They're out there, but we kind of connect them with what we call the sources of where they pop up and show their digital footprint.
Well, that's fascinating because a lot of the people who come on the show, being on the Inc. 5,000, are self-funded, bootstrapped, no outside money yet, but many of them are looking at it. So I guess you guys can help them through that process. Where do you see the industry going? Like, what are the big trends that are got you kind of concerned?
Yeah, I don't know if it's concerned, Gene, or actually pretty excited. I mean, you think in this sort of macroeconomic environment that is somewhat unstable, that our business wouldn't be doing well. Actually, on the contrary, we're doing quite well. And I think it's because if you look at what happened in the public markets over the last 30 years, the use of data to drive decision-making and ultimately investing in public stocks has just taken over the world. And you think of all the quant firms and how they make investment decisions. Well, there's a similar I'd say there's a similar theme evolving there where, private equity firms, even investment banks who are trying to find customers, whether on the buy side or the sell side, they're all using more data to drive alignment with whatever their investment philosophy and thesis is. So as we look at what we provide in our platform, it's part a data set and it's part workflow. But to me, it's where the world is evolving is a data-driven or data-centric, AI-driven model to investing specifically in the private market. So we look to provide that level of private market intelligence that helps them do their job better.
I'm fascinated by what you do. I have worked with a lot of clients through the executive coaching that are exiting and doing private placements and whatnot. And I'm typically helping them get ready for it. I'm not actually doing the deal with them.
Right.
So maybe there's some synergies around our work, but we came here to talk about a concept that I haven't put together before, but our team does research on everyone we put on the show. And your response back to our team on the question of what makes you guys grow at the level you've been growing, and you responded with vitality of leadership. So what does that really mean?
Yeah, so vitality of leadership is so when it comes to growth companies, I'm sure your audience hears all the time that how important leadership is. And that is very true. I mean, leadership is most certainly important to help companies get to the next stage. And, I view myself as, I've never been a founder, just so everyone knows. I view myself as more of a serial operator, serial CEO who helps take companies from in many cases, and more recently from their founder-led time to then that next stage of growth. And what I find a key part of that is how you develop leadership inside of an organization, but leadership that is growing, that is vibrant, that encapsulates the vision and mission, and where it's not just I would say a mental thing or an intellectual thing, like it's a feeling thing. And oftentimes when I think of business and just read news articles, listen to, cable news shows, business is oftentimes it's viewed as this mechanical thing, but I don't view business as mechanical at all. I actually view it as a very emotional feeling thing. And so the more that leaders can embrace that vitality, they can embrace that, the feeling of wanting to achieve a vision, a mission, the purpose that they're on, and then it gets to the core of who they are, I think that leads to tremendous results.
Well, you're speaking my language for sure, because I believe that leadership is critical for company success as we navigate challenges, as we navigate new innovations and whatnot. But I also know that it's hard to do it. So I'm curious, what is your approach to developing leaders?
Yeah, so I view leaders. So first of all, I view leadership, number one, it's anyone can be a leader within a company. And I make sure when I join companies, I let every single employee know that. And the beauty of the companies that I like to work with, sort of these call it mid-market companies, they're usually not public. They may or may not have some financing, but they've reached a certain revenue level where it's not about product market fit yet, or they've achieved product market fit. But now it's how do you get to that next level? But they're small enough where I can literally get to know everyone, and I can meet everyone, and I can share with them that anyone can be a leader, whether you're an individual contributor or a manager, anyone can be a leader. So that's number one. Number two is, in order to build out this leadership ecosystem, you need to have a platform to succeed in. And I believe that the starting points of that platform are the vision and mission for the company, and then the values. And if you don't have those established and something for leaders to anchor to, it's really hard for them to do their job. And then third is, I view leadership as you're helping someone else achieve their goal and objective. And oftentimes in my career, I've seen, quote unquote, leaders who really are in it for themselves. They're focusing on their own result, or they view their team result as a reflection of, and they talk about it as their result, versus where I view it as, no, we as leaders are here to empower the rest of the organization and to serve everyone else in the company while we collectively are serving our customers. And through that, you're putting yourself second and putting your team and the people that you're coaching and mentoring first.
So much in there to unpack.
Yep.
I ask one of my coaching client questions is, if you were to come in as an outsider to your own business, what would be the first most important thing you do? Now,
Right.
You've taken over this job 6 months ago, and I'm not asking you to share the secrets of how you guys do business, but what was your approach as an outsider coming into an established company to be able to assess where you needed to prioritize your attention and energy and money?
Yeah. That's a great question. I think hopefully in my career, I've honed this, at the various businesses, probably run, 7 or 8 different businesses that usually, they're existing businesses. And whether that's in the context of a public company, whether that's a VC-backed company or private equity owned, all of them sort of have a similar characteristic where I'm taking over something with an existing team. And when you do that, I think, first of all, you have to focus on helping the team get to know you. So, when I joined SourceScrub back in January, and one of the first things I did was I had an all hands where I shared with the team who I am. And I shared with them my personal life, I shared with them my professional experience, and I shared with them how I work. And then it turns out I got feedback. I got feedback recently where some people were asking, I heard this through the grapevine, because oftentimes the CEO you don't hear directly. But I heard people ask the question, Jim, what do you do? And I was like, interesting. Like they were seeing me do things, but I wasn't connecting the dots for them as to like the method to my madness, right? They saw me getting involved in certain areas. And I then decided, all right, at the next all hands meeting, I'm going to lay out the blueprint. And my blueprint is pretty simple. It's like a hamburger. You've got your vision and mission at is the top bun. You have your values as the bottom bun. And in between, and this is very specific, like I've been in doing high tech and software for many, many years. So this, just for your audience, Gene, to make sure they understand, this is a very software as a service centric approach, but there's probably similarities to other types of businesses. But you have those two buns, your vision and mission as the top bun, your values as a business is the bottom bun. And in between are 2 engines. You have your product engine and you have your go-to-market engine. And the goal is to have those engines deliver repeatable, predictable results. And of course, you have your organizations that support the entire company, finance, HR, et cetera. But all of that together, that's my blueprint. So when I I explained at this most recent all hands what my blueprint is, to help connect the dots as to why do I do things that I do? Because I also explained to them, I'm not the founders. And I give a lot of credit to the founders of SourceScrub and what they built over the years and the team that they built and the culture. I was not starting from ground zero. There was a lot of great foundation. I've just been helping to kind of hone it down, provide a little bit more focus, and get to where this is a well-oiled engine, a well-oiled innovation engine that not only is delivering for this first round of growth, but for the next round and the next round. And it's all part of building that foundation so that leaders can then operate within that functioning world or ecosystem.
I'm going to pause here for a second because I wanted to put a spotlight on this CEO question. One of the problems I find with founders and CEOs is they get so entrenched in the way it's always been. They get so entrenched into the emotional elements and stuck. And I asked them this question, and I know it's very difficult to be an outsider to your own company. But if you were the CEO of your company, what would you pay attention to that you're not paying attention to right now? What's most important? And it could be something completely off target. Maybe it's pricing, maybe it's culture, maybe it's leadership development, maybe it's, product market fit. I don't know where you are, but I'm just curious. If you use the CEO question, look at your company objectively and say, if I had fresh eyes, where would be the place I need to put most of my attention that really creates a solid foundation for the company to grow and build upon? That's the CEO question. And back to Jim. Well, I'm glad you walked us through that. And I'm curious, coming in as an outsider, the company probably had values. Did you recast the values and go through a process where you redefined the values for the organization, or did you accept what was already there?
I asked the company, I said, tell me what you think of the values. And then from that, I basically got feedback that said, well, some of the values work, some feel like they could be updated. And I said, great, let's get a group of people together and let's talk through what those values should be and iterate on it. And I assembled a group of leaders and what I called ambassadors, because I was also looking for a group of people that were excited to engage in this. Because some people like to engage on it, other people don't, and just live with the values. I think ultimately you need the collection of people that are at a company, they need to resonate with the values at some level. If not, it's just not the right fit. So we went through a process where I wouldn't say we started from scratch. We had a working set of values that had driven the company to this level of growth, but they needed some refinement. And I took the feedback from the team, and all I said was, look, I'm helping to take you through this process. I have my own personal opinions, but at the end of the day, I'm looking for all of us who are engaging on this to sign up to those, whatever the result is, to sign up. You may agree completely, you may agree with some of it, but not certain aspects, because you start getting into tweaking of words. But I said, at the end of this process, I'm going to ask you to DocuSign or whatever, digitally sign a document that shows that you're signing on to these values, because then my expectation that they are leaders who then take these values throughout the rest of the organization as ambassadors.
Now, I want to pause again here with a little bit of commentary about values. It is such a critical thing for businesses. I've done solo episodes about this. I've done other interviews, and the process that he mentioned about how do you get the values to be refreshed absolutely works. Identifying ambassadors, bringing people in, letting the values audition themselves back in. Like, you don't just accept that we're going to just be the same company. You want to make sure that it really reflects who you are as a culture and as a team. And if they don't, then you need to find new values that better reflect that, because you want to make sure that you're living the values. Now, there's other ways that you can develop values. I won't go into them today, but I wanted to highlight here that it is necessary for you to update these over time. So if it's been 2 or 3 years, it's time for you to look at that again. And this ambassador approach is certainly one way you can do it, or happy to share with you some of the other aspects. Just reach out to me. I'm happy to help. Back to Jim. Love the process there. And it's similar to what I do with clients when I'm working with them as an executive coach. I'd love for you to connect the dots of maybe the values that you guys were able to recast and vitality of leadership. How are those things related, if they are?
Yeah. Oh, I think they're very much related. As leaders, you have to embrace the values and believe in them. And what I always say to when I join companies, I say to everyone, look, whatever, and we go through a process like this, whatever values come out of it, just make sure that you take the time to internalize them and be able to speak to them yourself. One of our values is truth, because we're trying to deliver truth about the private market, right? Private market intelligence. And our customers rely on us for that intelligence that we're providing is objective, like as fact-based as you can. And, the internet is how a company describes themselves on their website. You could argue is not necessarily fact. It's how they want you to perceive them. So we try and with truth as a foundational value, there's truth in the offering that we provide to our customers. There has to be truth within our company as to how we speak to one another. Because if you aren't speaking to facts and to truth and trying to seek truth, you won't be better. And I believe as leaders, leaders and this vitality of leadership has to be based on truth. Like the decisions as a leader, I'm giving feedback to someone. It's based on facts that I have assembled, as well as connected with my past experiences to give them feedback to help them do better. So I do think all of the values that we have are tied to leadership. And again, back to this idea of vitality, where it's living, it's growing, it's constantly flourishing. And there's an energy that comes out of about living your values each and every day. And I also believe that, the hard part of running businesses is ensuring that the team that you have is the collection of people that believe in your values and believes in your vision and mission. And it's okay if someone doesn't. It's not a reflection on who they are as a person. It's just they're not connecting. And so I try and help shine a light that we may not be the best fit for everyone out there. And that's okay. Because if you get the best fit, then you build this energy and this vibrancy, and it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy, if you will, that you'll be able to live up to your values because the people that you've brought in have such an emotional connection to them.
Well, Jim, we're going to have one last question here. And
Yep.
Sometimes this is a doozy, but you can be succinct with this.
Yep.
What's an area of leadership where you've had an inflection point, or you've had a mistake, or you thought of it one way and now it's different as you've matured as a leader? Is there something that comes to mind?
Yeah, there's, I would say, so 2 companies ago, I was working with it was a private equity backed company in the fintech space. And I wasn't CEO. I joined on as COO, and the founder was the CEO. And he became a great mentor for me in having me think about organizations. And I think up until that point, I was thinking about businesses, how to achieve results, but I don't think I had appreciated to the level as to how intentional you need to be about organizations, how to design them correctly. Again, how to create a platform for people to succeed, how to organize around whether it's values, a vision, or mission that connects with me personally. Because whether I'm the founder or a CEO, a serial CEO that comes in to run the business, I am a believer that if you don't connect with the business personally and on an emotional level, everyone will see through it. The employees, your customers, your investors, your board, everyone will see through it. So it was that inflection point that taught me a lot about the personal connection that I need to have with a business, its values, its vision, its mission, how we lead, how do we design the organization moving forward around, agile teams. All of that has to connect for me personally. And I think that was a big inflection for my own career.
Thanks for sharing that with us, Jim. And thanks for being here.
Great. Thanks, Gene.
Jim and I have been talking about the vitality of leadership. I really love the fact that we talked about the core elements of this, the foundation, the platform, if you will, of the mission, vision, and values. Those are critical elements to creating alignment, creating a space where people know who they are as employees and as leaders. And you want to make sure you do this really well. Many of you are doing it okay. My request for you is take it up a notch. Really live by the values. Really communicate the vision and the mission effectively all the time. If you do this really well, you'll see the impact across the organization. Now, if you have any questions about this, my job as an executive coach is to help you fill in the gaps. I'd love to help you do that. Or maybe it's developing your managers into leaders. We do that too. Just go to genehammett.com and schedule your call today. When you think of growth and you think of leadership, think of Growth Think Tank. As always, lead with courage. We'll see you next time.